Hello, thank you for tuning in. This is Group L, and today we'll be presenting Where is the Aluminum? Follett Products LLC and Compass Group NAD. So before we proceed, I wanted to introduce myself as the first speaker of today. So my name is Yasmin Williams. I received my undergrad degree in Bachelor's of Management from the University of South Florida, Go Bulls, and my current profession is a payroll specialist. So to begin, I did want to give a little history on the company that we'll be focusing on today, which will be Follett Product LLC. So Follett Product LLC is also commonly known as Follett Ice. It was founded by Fred Follett Jr. in 1948 with a primary focus on producing ice machines for commercial use. So it's a company that specializes in the design, manufacture, and distribution of ice and refrigeration products. They do serve various industries, including the food service industry, healthcare, hospitality, and education. So over time, Follett Ice has been able to expand its product range to include storage, ice units, transport systems, ice dispensers, beverage dispensing equipment, and other refrigeration solutions. So definitely a wide range of products. So their diverse product range enables them to cater to the specific needs of the particular customer that they may be dealing with. It's important to know that Follett Ice operates domestically and internationally. They have a large presence in numerous of countries that include the United States, Canada, Mexico, the United Kingdom, Germany, France, China, Australia, and more. So their global footprint allows them to engage in multiple markets and capitalize on various opportunities. Um, the company has also been able to consistently grow and remain profitable over the years, and this is specifically because they've been able to commit to excellence, top tier service, and just overall continuous innovation. So within the market, um, Follett is able to maintain a competitive advantage by keeping up with the latest technological advancements in the ice and refrigeration solutions. And they're just constantly staying at the forefront of innovation and adapting to changing trends and customer demands. Lastly, it's important to know that Follett Ice operates on a business to business operation strategy. So they have a formed partnership with Compass Group, who's a Fortune 500 company and a leader in the food industry, food service industry. So Compass Group, as a subsidiary or their subsidiary, Foodbuy, handles procurement and negotiates agreements with vendors and suppliers. So through an exclusive agreement, Compass Group purchases a specific line of ice and water machines solely from Follett, which creates a mutually beneficial relationship. So for anyone looking to know more about a company, it's important to look at their SWOT analysis, which is what you see here for Follett Ice. So looking at their strengths, which would be internal, would be their product quality and innovation. So Follett Ice is known for producing high quality ice and refrigeration products that meet different standards. So they're constantly investing in different research and development to continue improving product features and staying ahead in the market. So secondly, they have a diverse product portfolio. Um, so as mentioned earlier, Follett Ice provides a wide variety of ice and refrigeration solutions, and so they're able to cater to different industries. This has definitely allowed them to enter multiple markets and widen their customer base. So moving over to their weaknesses, um, one of them is that they're dependent on external suppliers. So, like most manufacturing companies, Follett Ice has to rely on external suppliers for their raw material. So if that supply chain is disrupted in any way, their production could be impacted. So moving on to their external opportunities. So they do have a growing demand. So there is a growing demand for energy efficient solutions. So there's a growing importance for sustainability and energy efficiency, where there's room to grow into eco-friendlier and ice refrigeration products. So it'd be really smart for Fallout Ice if they could join this market trend and further promote energy efficient products while also gaining a larger customer base. Another opportunity that they have would be an expansion into growing markets. So Follow Eyes can explore areas of expansion in emerging markets, specifically where the demand for ice and refrigeration products is rising. This can be seen in developing countries with a growing food service and healthcare industries. Lastly, we're going to take a look at their threats, um, their external threats. One being economic factors, so changes in the economy, such as recessions or exchange rate fluctuations, can affect demand for ice and refrigeration products. And as well, regulatory compliance can also be an external threat. So, changing regulations and standards can be difficult to keep up with, particularly in the food industry. So, it's important to remain in compliance to avoid penalties or loss of market share.
Hey, how are you doing? My name is Kyle Swooten, and I'm going to be the next presenter in this presentation. I just wanted to give you a little bit of background on myself. I got my undergraduate degree in nutrition and dietetics from the University of North Florida, and then I later went on to get my graduate degree in physical therapy from South College, which is in Knoxville, Tennessee. I am currently working as a physical therapist, and I'm hoping to use my MBA to move up within the healthcare system and just kind of see what goes from there. Now, in this part of the presentation, I'm going to be discussing Follett Ice and the kind of countries associated with the aluminum shortage that they've been having recently. Now, there are a number of major aluminum suppliers to the United States, with China being the largest aluminum producer in the world and the largest supplier of aluminum to the United States, which is closely followed by Russia, which is the second largest producer of aluminum in the world and the second largest supplier of aluminum to the United States. And even though China is the largest aluminum supplier to the United States, I feel that discussing Russia will be more relevant due to recent global events that have been going on, which have caused a supply chain shortage and has caused certain tariffs to be imposed on Russian aluminum. The first thing that I want to talk about is the cultural differences between Russia and the United States and how that can impact business. So the first part of that would be the business leadership style that both countries tend to take. So in Russia, they tend to take an autocratic leadership style, which is a style that's rarely seen in the United States. And the autocratic leadership means that the managers of the business are able to essentially unilaterally make decisions without consulting any employees or any board of directors. So it's a much more one-man approach to business, which directly opposes the United States form of business, which is more of a democratic leadership style. And in this democratic style, the manager still does have the final say in what's done and what's going on, but they do heavily rely on the input and ideas of their employees to run more smoothly. Then the next difference would be the context of the culture. So in Russia, they have a high context culture, as opposed to the United States, which has more of a low context culture. So a high context culture is a culture where things are not necessarily stated directly and things need to be kind of implied from what is said, as opposed to a low context culture in the United States where things are stated directly. And the final major cultural difference between Russia and the United States when in a business type setting would be that in Russia, the employees are much more reserved and serious. And in the United States, employees are often more casual and open. And this plays a role in that in Russia, the employees tend to talk about business and not talk about anything outside of their work life, as opposed to the United States, where employees will discuss their work life, their home life, they'll talk about pretty much anything. And this is important because if you're doing business with employees from Russia, they may not want to talk about things outside of the business life, and they actually can see it as insulting sometimes. So this is important to keep in mind just to make sure that don't come across as disrespectful to anyone. So the next thing I want to talk about is kind of just a general overview of the Russian economy and how that's grown over the years, and then some challenges that we face when doing business with them. So in general, Russia is one of the world's largest countries with the 11th largest economy based on its GDP and the sixth largest economy based on its purchasing power parity. And in recent years, it has shown really steady economic growth, and it's become very important in a number of different sectors. And one major sector that's become important in is the aluminum market. And with that, Russia now accounts for nearly 6% of the global production of aluminum, and it supplies the United States with 5 to 6% of its aluminum supply. And on top of that, Russia is also one of the main global suppliers for more specialty aluminum products like large diameter aluminum bars. Now, unfortunately, there are a number of challenges when doing business with Russia right now. And one of the main things is due to the recent Russian-Ukraine war, and that has created some supply chain issues. So it's decreased the supply of aluminum coming out of Russia, and it's increased the cost of it. And since the beginning of the war, there's been a lot of tariffs that have been posed on metals and minerals that are coming out of Russia. And as of April 10th of this year, there was a new 200% tariff on all Russian aluminum that's coming directly out of Russia. And this has resulted in some major supply chain issues, just really bumped up the cost of aluminum and slowed down production. And that's caused major issues for any company that really relies on aluminum to produce their products, and Full is one of those companies. Now, the supply chain issues are obviously a major concern when doing business with any kind of Russian industry right now, but there are also other concerns, and one of the major concerns are cybersecurity issues. The American Cybersecurity Defense Agency states that the Russian government engages in malicious cyber activities to enable broad scope cyber espionage, to suppress certain social and political activity, to steal intellectual property, and to harm regional and international adversaries. And the American Cybersecurity Defense Agency later goes on to state kind of a number of different industries that Russia has targeted in the past with these cybersecurity concerns. And in particular, it stated that the cyber attacks targeted commercial facilities, water facilities, critical manufacturing, and all of these could be relevant to Follett Ice and should all be something that need to be kind of taken in consideration when doing business with Russia. And all concerns aside, Russia is still a major player in the aluminum industry, and finding effective ways to work around these issues is critical to the health of the United States economy and to any vendor who deals with aluminum and other metals coming out of Russia. And now that's really all for my portion of this presentation. Thank you for listening.
Hi, my name is Natalie Pignon. I obtained my bachelor's in supervision and management at Miami-Dade College. I hold my current position as a district general manager at Canteen, which is a subsidiary of Compass Group. Exactly is the problem that Follett is currently facing. To really understand the predicament that Follett is currently in, we have to start at the beginning. And it all started and stemmed from the pandemic and the effects that the shutdowns caused in pretty much all of the United States and globally, really. And of course, Follett was not exempt from the disruption that the pandemic caused. They are headquartered in Easton, Pennsylvania, and of course they were on lockdowns just like everyone else. That was not any different. However, when it actually became a challenge for them was when return to office started happening for basically their clientele and their customer base. So as returns to office started sparking up, specifically more in southern states of the United States, they were still behind, specifically because the area that they're headquartered in is actually had extended their lockdowns much longer than their counterparts. So as Follett is trying to reopen and bring staffing back, now you're fighting the perception that it isn't safe, that you have to implement many more safety regulations and CDC regulations in order to be compliant and have the ability to bring people back. And of course, given the nature of what they're doing at the plant, they definitely need people on site. This also presented a challenge in many ways because it was a time where people were working from home. Of course, there were a lot of unknowns, and a lot of people didn't feel safe leaving their homes. So definitely finding people to come back to work was probably the biggest challenge that they faced at the time. The problem really becomes, or comes into effect, is that we haven't really gotten over that hump yet. There's a lot of industries still struggling to find people to come into work, especially in the service industry. And again, they're still experiencing that currently as we speak. And then, of course, COVID caused such a disruption in the supply chain. Exporting and sourcing of materials became almost impossible in some cases. So this definitely put Follett in a very tough spot, given that the equipment that they predominantly are making is made up of aluminum. And basically, you compound that by the shortage of microchips that was going on at the time, and other materials that compose the equipment. And this really put the company in a very serious hardship situation. So at its worst, they were processing orders with a 40-week lag. So in terms of how it affects the people that, or the companies that they're servicing, I mean, that definitely creates a service disruption that now causes many other hardships to that company, right? So now we can't service or provide the equipment. It creates mistrust between the client and the business, and a downhill effect from that causes a bad customer experience. And although we would like to say that Follett is looking at a much better situation or lighter situation in terms of aluminum shortage and material shortage, unfortunately, it isn't the case, as the Russian and Ukraine war have extended that aluminum shortage. So their recovery time is even slower. So how exactly does that affect a company like Compass Group and its sectors? Well, Compass Group is bounded by agreements that are brokered by Foodbuy, which is essentially their buying arm. And this means that Compass and the sectors that are under the company have to abide by the term agreements, which are in most cases exclusivity to buying equipment from Follett, especially a type of equipment. So with a 40-week lag, again, it creates a customer service and customer experience that is not favorable for Compass. It also puts its credibility in question. And I mean, not to mention the millions of dollars of loss in revenue, which at this point would be very difficult to quantify. But for perspective, Canteen, which I work for, we normally charge an average of $199 to $399 a month, depending on the model of ice machine that we're placing at any given site. Not to mention that if the company is able to somehow break away from this agreement or find a loophole, they very much follow a top-down communication style. So that means that making a change it would take a long time to disperse amongst 28 subsidiaries that are currently under Compass Group. So this would definitely be a huge undertaking. However, there is light at the end of the tunnel, and Christian will present a solution that we think would be beneficial for Follett and in turn Compass Group to solve some of these challenges that they're currently facing.
Hello everybody, my name's Christian Aniello, and I am the next speaker for this presentation. A little bit about myself and my background. I got my undergraduate degree in integrated business from the University of Central Florida, go Knights, and I currently work as an arbitrator in the wholesale automotive industry, so think car auctions and auctioneering and all that good stuff. So basically, although there are a ton of different solutions, probable solutions that we were able to think of as a group, we think the most effective solution would be for Follett Group to start exporting aluminum from Canada instead of Russia. Now, instead of just trying to sit there and fix the situation in Russia or make it easier for them to export aluminum, we thought it would be easier to just scrap that initiative in Russia and start all over in Canada. So there's several reasons that Follett Group should consider switching their aluminum exporting from Canada instead of Russia. Firstly is the uncertainty in Russia. Obviously, there's the ongoing war with Ukraine. There continues to be political unrest, social unrest, things of that nature. Now, that all contributes to how well the country is able to export materials, and in this case, how well they're able to export aluminum to other countries. Now, Follett Group, obviously, their manufacturing plant is in Easton, Pennsylvania, so it's quite a ways away from Russia. So with all the uncertainty going on, it's hard to kind of trust Russia to be consistent now and in the future with exporting that aluminum. Secondly, Canada produces a ton of aluminum on their own as well. So Canada is actually the world's fourth largest producer of aluminum, right behind China, India, and Russia. So, I mean, yes, Canada produces less aluminum than Russia, but they're still producing a ton of aluminum, meaning that they have a ton of aluminum to export. One of the biggest reasons is that the distance that the aluminum needs to travel is a lot shorter if Follett gets its aluminum from Canada instead of Russia. Obviously, Canada's a lot closer than Russia is, specifically to Easton, Pennsylvania, where Follett's manufacturing plant is. In fact, it's only about a 9-hour car drive from Quebec, where a lot of the aluminum is produced, to Easton, Pennsylvania. So, I mean, obviously, the trucks would have to cross the border, and that takes some time, but it's nothing compared to trucking aluminum from manufacturing plants in Russia to port cities, loading the aluminum onto cargo containers, having the cargo containers shipped all the way to the United States, unloading them at that port, and then trucking them all the way to Easton, Pennsylvania. So this is one of the main reasons. Everything's going to be faster as a result. And Follett Group is going to be able to demand more things quicker and make changes quicker. And finally, also a very big reason is the reduced cost for Follett Group. This much shorter distance is going to significantly reduce costs for Follett Group. Everything's going to be faster, and also the costs are going to be lower for them for sourcing that aluminum since it's a lot closer. Not to mention, there are no tariffs against Canada, unlike Russia. So Russia has those tariffs against them as a result of the war in Ukraine. So that makes it more expensive to get that aluminum out of Russia and all the way to Easton. So since it's coming from Quebec or anywhere else in Canada, there's no tariffs, along with the shorter distance, a lot less money is going to be spent on transportation of that aluminum. Now, there are some other things to consider, however, before Follett Group moves forward with switching to Canada for their aluminum source. Firstly, Follett Group should make sure that switching to Canada does not breach any contracts that they currently have. For example, with some of their subsidiary companies like Compass Group, Follett Group should make sure that they're not breaching any contracts, such as where the aluminum will be sourced from. You never know if with these subsidiary companies that the original contract they signed states that for X amount of years they'll continue to get the aluminum from X country. So, I mean, that's just something that the company should look into and make sure that they won't be breaching any contracts with their subsidiary companies by switching to Canada. Furthermore, Follett Group should make sure that the growth is supported with aluminum from Canada. Although Canada does, produce the fourth largest amount of aluminum in the world, it's still the fourth most opposed to Russia's third most. So, I mean, Follett should make sure that Canada would be able to support any type of future growth where they would need more aluminum. They want to make sure that Canada and their exporters are able to meet those needs. Also, Follett should also consider this as possibly a marketing opportunity. Like I stated, Follett would be utilizing a lot less transportation to bring this aluminum down to Easton opposed to from Russia. So their carbon footprint is going to be decreased and reduced. So this is a great point that the company can use to try to bring in some more customers, because everybody loves to use a green company. So it's just a point to consider that the company would be able to use this also as a marketing opportunity for themselves. Finally, Follett should also keep in mind that this switch would probably take about a year or possibly even longer. If they have to review all these contracts and set up different supply chain routes and make sure they have all their exporters in line and under contract, it's going to take time to get all of those switches in place. So the company it's not an immediate switch, but the company should plan on taking a year or at least a year to completely switch from getting the aluminum from Russia to Canada. They can always kind of do a soft launch and maybe do some from Canada, some from Russia, and make sure that works. But altogether, it's not going to be something that happens instantaneously, and the company's going to have to account for a long time of switching.
Hi guys, it's Yasmin again, and I'm back to discuss some questions that we've been able to receive from our audience. So the first question that I have is, what are the potential long-term consequences for the United States economy if effective solutions are not found to overcome the challenges in the aluminum industry related to international business? So, if effective solutions are not found to overcome the challenges in the aluminum industry related to international business, the United States economy may face negative consequences. So, these negative consequences may include increased costs for aluminum dependent industries, potential job losses, reduced competitiveness in global markets, and a strain on supply chains that rely on aluminum imports from Russia. The second question we have is, how can Follett maintain strong relationships with its subsidiary companies like Compass Group while implementing changes in its supply chain, specifically regarding aluminum sourcing? So, Follett can maintain strong relationships with its subsidiary companies like Compass Group by ensuring transparent communication, involving them in the decision-making process, addressing any concerns or contractual obligations, and providing reassurance about the benefits and potential improvements that the changes in the supply chain, such as alternative aluminum sourcing, would bring. Lastly, we have: what measures can Follett take to ensure a smooth transition to sourcing aluminum from Canada without breaching any contractual obligations or facing legal complications? So, to ensure a smooth transition, Follett can carefully review and negotiate contractual terms with its existing aluminum suppliers in Russia, seeking legal advice if that's necessary. They should communicate and collaborate with their legal team, industry experts, and stakeholders to ensure compliance, maintain contractual validity, and mitigate any potential legal risks throughout the transition process. So hopefully those answers were helpful. On behalf of the team, just want to thank everybody for tuning in. So yeah, thank you.